I'm Denise.
She's a non-fiction editor, and I'm Louise.
She's a fiction editor. And together,
we're the Editing Podcast.
Hello there, it's Denise here. In our last 2 episodes, you'll have heard Louise and me in conversation with Carol Saller, where we've been exploring the ins and outs of blogging for editors and authors. This is the final part of that conversation, and we talk about making money from your blog, sales funnels, managing reader engagement, and deciding who to write for and when to stop. Over to you, Louise.
Yeah. So let's talking about killer instincts. Well, sort of. Let's talk about money, or more specifically about monetization, because in editing it does feel like a bit of a dirty word, but it's something that Denise and I have been talking a lot about recently. Cal's a bit more brazen than me, I have to say. She's definitely beaten me down. This comes back to that point I was making just a minute ago about kind of like, I'm the one who'll like, let's just change the website now. Let's just fix that and get that done right now. And she'll be putting it on a to-do list maybe. But when it comes to money, I'll be like, well, I probably need to have a little bit of a think about that, for a couple of months. And Denise will be like, what are we waiting for? Things like sales funnels. That's what she's been making me think about, and all that stuff. So what's your approach to monetization?
Ooh, I like that idea of a sales funnel. How does that work? You just hook it up and the money comes whooshing out?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it, Denise?
Well, that's it.
Okay.
At its simplest level, absolutely, yeah. Hook it up right and the money comes pouring out.
Well,
Denise, why don't you explain that what a sales funnel is? Because I think it might be something that's really useful for listeners who are less experienced with marketing.
Yeah, and it's something that I think, I've only just really come to appreciate more, the last sort of year or two, really, about, that if you're selling a product or a service, you really should be thinking in terms of a sales funnel if you're producing and creating content, because really it's the process by which you bring customers or clients closer to the buying decision by various marketing actions. So if you imagine like a funnel, a funnel that has a top, a middle and a bottom. So top of funnel, middle of funnel and bottom. And what you're doing is it's wide at the top where you're catching lots of people, a really wide audience. And then you gradually narrow your audience down through the funnel with different types of content, so that when it comes to the bottom of the funnel, you hopefully have directed the right people who are going to be interested in your product or service, and who are ready and willing to buy that product or service from you. So if you think about it in terms of content, the top of funnel stuff is that awareness raising content that we create, where people are just finding out about you. They're noticing your name. They're nowhere near ready to buy from you, but you're educating them. You're being relevant with your content. You're being seen by them, and so that's mainly sort of blogs and videos, that sort of helpful, free, useful content that you're creating at the top of the funnel. But as people come to know who you are and what you have to offer, they're actually moving down to the middle of the funnel, and they may be starting to think about buying from you, but they're still comparing you to your competitors. And that's where you want to create content that starts to introduce your product or service specifically to them as potential solutions. So you're not just talking about writing a blog post about pronouns, for example. You're maybe writing a blog post about, narrative arc, and then you're talking about the webinar that you have for it, or a book that you've written for it. You're starting to introduce that. You're not selling it, you're just mentioning it. You're raising awareness of it at that point. So you're starting to show that you have solutions to their problems or their sort of pain points, if you like to call them that. But then they come down to the bottom of the funnel, where they're at maximum interest level, and they're really at the point where
They're weak.
They're weak. You've worn them down. You've worn them down, but you've hopefully funneled people to the point that at the bottom of the funnel are people who are interested and ready to buy from you. And you want to tip them over into actually making that purchase by showing them how you've actually solved people's problems by using other people's voices through case studies, through testimonials and reviews where other people are doing that selling for you because they're saying, I bought this product and look what it did for me. So that's the sort of bottom of the funnel stuff that should, somebody reads that and thinks, I've got to have that book or that video because that is going to solve this problem that I have. And what editors are really, really good at is top of funnel stuff. We write tons, we create tons of content for top of funnel. And what we don't do is help to move people towards purchasing or using our services by that more targeted middle and bottom funnel, because we start to talk about selling a product and people don't like to do that. Editors, they're not very good at that.
I wonder, do you think, because I sometimes think out of my colleagues and pals in the editing community, I feel like, I don't know if I'm generalizing a bit here, but it's a bit of a British thing. We're a bit
reserved. It's a bit uncouth.
Yeah, it's all yes, uncouth. It is, yes. And I think that's. I'm wondering if that's. Carol, do you think that's less of an issue, the whole monetizing thing in the States?
Well, I think it's definitely, monetizing is the American way. That doesn't mean that everyone's comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's interesting because I really am taken with Denise's description of the funnel, and I'd like to hear more about that another time. When I've heard about the sales funnel before, it was in the context, a somewhat different context of someone selling fiction novels in a series, so that you start, and it's that you can charge more money the lower you get in the funnel, because same idea, by that time you're collecting the most eager fans.
They're already hooked.
Yes. Yeah. So you give away the first novel, an ebook, for free.
Yep.
And the series book number 2, you might charge $2.99. By the time you get to number 8, you're charging full price. And then it's the idea of engagement and promotion according to level of engagement.
Yeah. So I think what you're describing, absolutely, that is a sales funnel. Yeah. Maybe what I'm talking about is more of a sales and marketing funnel. It's more focused on the marketing, the content marketing, rather than just purely being price led.
Yeah.
Although that freebie novel, because in fact, one of our guests, Denise, Andy Maslin, he does this very thing, and he does that. He's got a little sort of free mini thriller that he gives away on his website, and that's the content. That's the equivalent of one of our blog posts.
Yep.
And then you do exactly what Carol said. The more wrapped up you get in his various series, because you don't get wrapped up even in Andy. You get wrapped up in his characters and their story, and that kind of sucks you in, so that you'll pay $11.99 for the book 6.
Yeah.
And so it is in a sense that that's marketing content, that first bit of it. But it's doing the same thing. It's showing he's showing you his ability to solve your problem of needing to be entertained by a great story. It's just a different angle.
I think the issue is for editors very often is that they don't see bringing in new clients as a sales process. But it absolutely is a sales process in how you attract and then land a new client. However you do it, whether it's through content marketing or not, there is a sales process there. And I think if you're a freelance editor or proofreader and you're trying to attract your clients by using content, if you think in that process terms, it starts to clarify that, well, what can I do to make the right people that I want to work with, more likely to find me and want to work with me? If you take sales out of it, but it's just drawing the right clients in and calling it a funnel, if you like. Yeah.
And then I suppose that editors who specialize in one, particular kind of editing will be at an advantage because they can be more specific in their keywords and in their targeting, and then someone who will say, well, I edit everything, and then it's like, you might as well say I don't edit anything, because it won't get anyone's attention.
Exactly. It's that generalist. If you're speaking to, it's who is it that says it, Louise? Is it Gary Vaynerchuk? If you're selling to everyone, you're selling to no one. That whole you need to narrow it down.
That idea that the message I can do everything is just appealing to nobody. It's not something most people believe. I mean, there are some people who can do everything, but like usually when people tell me they're good at doing everything, I think, really?
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody says to me, I'm actually a really, really competent and experienced fiction editor, particularly historical fiction, for example, or I edit a lot of different subjects, but my particular strengths are business and education. That I get, and that's something for me. If I'm a business person or an educationalist, now I'm interested. Whereas, like, if you've got a niche problem, or the thing is, most of our clients aren't writing generalist fiction or non-fiction. There'll usually be a genre or a subject in there. So, but we're moving away from money.
Back to the money.
Yeah.
So, Carol, have you got any sort of tips on sort of like how people might think about ways in which bloggers could bring in money?
Well, I think, if you move away from the idea of a blog that's specifically by a freelance editor trying to get clients, because that's, I don't actually have experience of that. I've never been a freelancer. We've got writer listeners as well, and so it's for bloggers more generally, there are popular ways of to bring in money. You can actually sell things. You can sell mugs and t-shirts. There's someone we know, someone in our circle sells very clever editing slogans on t-shirts. I can't remember right now who it is.
Jonathan Owen,
yes, it is.
Aaron Pedantry.
Yeah,
Aaron Pedantry.
Yes. Yes. So he does that. If you're really established, you can sell advertising space, although that's no good for someone who's just starting out, because they won't be very attractive. Someone who does this well is Jane Friedman. She has a free newsletter called Electric Speed. I don't know if you get it, but last year sometime she decided to start selling ad space on her in her emails, and she took a little flack for that.
Didn't she? I remember that.
Yes. And I just think on the whole, her fans were very supportive. I mean, she is a top publishing industry expert, sending out a free
she's so generous.
Yes. Filled with this great advice. So she's had no trouble finding takers for that, ad space.
Yeah.
So ad space is another thing. And then there are these affiliate programs where, like Amazon Associates or Commission Junction, where a blogger, and I think, any blogger can do this. If you don't get much traffic, you're not going to make much money from it, but it's free. I think you don't have to pay anything to become an associate. And you don't to a product. And if someone buys it via the link on your site, then you get a royalty.
And you get a royalty, not just on that particular thing. If they buy other things when they access Amazon through that link, you get a royalty on that as well.
Oh, cool.
So it's anything that they buy through that link,
Yeah.
So if they go on to buy a book from your site, for example, Carol, but while they're there, they buy,
a car.
camera and you get. I'm pretty sure that's the way it used to be. I'm sure it's still like that. You get on the whole.
I had an email from Amazon the other day saying they've changed their terms of service for the billionth time. I said that's that's probably what they changed, because that's just wonderful.
Do either of you have experience with that, so that like how much money someone can make being an associate?
I'm an associate. Would you like to know how much money I've made?
Yeah, how much?
Absolutely zero. But that's because I've only got a few things on my blog. Out of all my blogs, there's only a few that have maybe links to a few books, and I don't promote that, and I don't make any effort to do anything about it. So I'm really not surprised that.
Yeah,
I just did it because why not? Somebody might click on it one day, but
yeah.
What about you, Louise?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it varies. Like I'm just going to give you a range. I've earned in some. I mean, I don't promote other people's products. I just selfishly do my own. All my books I link through to, and some months I earn like $4, but some months I earn 70. It all depends on who's buying.
And that's the affiliate. That's not your book sales. Is that right? Is that?
Yeah. No, that's that Amazon Associates link. That's not my book sales. That's just free cash. That's just So
there's no harm.
Exactly. So it's absolutely worth trying, experimenting with, because what's the worst thing that can happen is that you've spent 10 minutes setting up a free service. It's cost you nothing, and you earn nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly
but the best thing that can happen is that you might get a little bit of something.
Yeah. Somebody might feel sorry for me now and go find one of my blogs and click through it. But the important thing about Amazon, about any affiliate program, is that you have to make it clear that it is an affiliate link. You have to say that it's an affiliate link, and you will earn a few pennies from it. That's
and I noticed that some newsletters or bloggers now also do the opposite. They say, nothing I mention I don't make any money from anything.
Absolutely, yes. And that can be a nice selling point as well. If you feel that your audience would appreciate that, that you're not making money out of that at all.
Yeah. Well, and then there's one more way I can think of that it's popular to make money online, and that's to just charge money for people to access your site by requiring that someone subscribe to it, or have a little membership thing, or a Patreon thing, or a Kickstarter thing, or whatever, or even just a buy me a cup of coffee widget, just plain out old hand out for spare change buddy. And people do make money. I give people money sometimes if I read something I really love, or if I borrow an image that's royalty free and it says, give the creator a cup of coffee, I'll bite.
Yeah. I've bought coffees through that sort of, is it called coffee, that ko.fi, is it? Do you pronounce it?
I don't
coffee?
remember.
I don't know, but it's only a few dollars or whatever, and you think, why not?
Yeah. But I think the trick in making money from a website or blog is to know your readers and only try to sell them stuff that they're interested in. Otherwise, then that's when it becomes a kind of intrusion and a hard sell. And that's also where your analytics might come in helpful, because you can, if you have the right kinds of settings and subscriptions, you can find out about your readers' other interests. You can find out, Google knows everything about everyone. You can see what they're interested in. And I notice on Jane Friedman's newsletter that the ads are for books and services and webinars that readers of a publishing newsletter might actually want.
Yes. It's not just drivel. It's relevant content. It's raw relevant content, isn't it? It's paid for. And you know what? I think in a case like with Jane Friedman's, that it doesn't hurt to remind, you're never going to please all of the people all of the time, but it doesn't hurt to remind people that there's only so much you can get for free. Sometimes there comes a point where if you want to dig deeper, you have to put your hands in your pocket. And although the whole methodology behind content marketing is something I'm passionate about and I really believe in, I do think that when we go down that route, we almost sort of like set up potentially a kind of an expectation that, oh, our time isn't what, that we're just there 24 hours a day to give away content. And it's important to remember that there's when any of us as editors, we're in business and when we're providing something, that there is a cost to it in terms of time. And so if every now and then Jane Friedman wants to charge a little bit for something, or make a little do something to make her business more viable, it's good that her readers are reminded of that.
Well, and that's Jane Friedman she makes money through her Hot Sheet, which is a paid subscription. And that's, that really does get into the weeds in the publishing industry news, and is well worth the subscription, but she's got it covered. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I suppose the other side of blogging is the reader engagement aspect. Because the more popular a blog gets, the more questions you get asked. And that takes time. That's another aspect of time that is, that people don't always think about. And sometimes it almost like it turns into a situation where people think that you're available 24/7 for free consultancy. Have you got experience of this yourself, Carol?
Well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I do tend to get the same questions over and over, so I'm pretty efficient at responding. And I do the Louise thing where sometimes I get a blog post out of it, and then I can just send them the link. But it gives me a good feeling to do that. I think people are always very grateful, and I'm also pretty good at saying no and guarding my time if it begins to feel like someone wants more than I can give. So. It helps if you're prepared to tell someone where they can get help. And I frequently give out links to the Editorial Freelancers Association if they're looking for a copy editor or something.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much mirrors our sort of experience with it, doesn't it, Louise? Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that whole message, just to sum that up, if listeners remember, if you're going down that route and you find yourself in that position, then guard your time, like Carol said, and remember your time has a value to it. And don't be afraid to gently and kindly say, actually, if you wanted to talk in depth about this, that's quite a big topic, you'd need to book a consultancy with me, or here's a free blog post on it. Go and read that. And it's okay to say no, or just redirect someone elsewhere, because your time is valuable. That's not being mean or impolite, or it's just it's time management, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I didn't even think of that, because I've never freelanced, but of course it's an ideal opportunity to try to convert a query into a sale. If you can say, it sounds to me like you need more professional work than I can give in an email. If you're interested in my services, here's where you can see my rates or whatever.
Yes, if it's someone, my queries aren't usually from authors, though. I do get the odd author who's looking for advice, and it's usually on the back of a query about how much I might charge. So I am happy to talk with them a little bit. I think I was thinking more in terms of if other editors are asking for business advice, and
right.
And in that case, again, it depends. It depends. If I've got a resource I can send them to, I will. So yeah. So Carol, finally, can we talk a little bit about your plans for the future in regard to blogging? You've had different blogs with different audiences. How did you decide on who you wanted to write for, and how do you decide when to stop?
Well, yes. I've done 3 blogs, and I've had 3 audiences. First, the copy editors, and then students and scholars, and now creative writers and editors of creative writing. And I guess each time I moved on when I felt I didn't have anything more to say. I really don't like writing the same things over and over again. And that's a valid option. Some bloggers do, but that's not my thing. And in fact, I do constantly worry. Every month, I think I don't have another idea. But, then I just go on Facebook and find something irritating. And it's always there for me.
Yeah.
So I will quit, though, when I have nothing more to say or when they throw me out, and, I'm kind of at the mercy of the Chicago Manual now. They might move in a different direction at some point. So we'll see.
And on that bombshell, listeners, it turns out that Carol Saller is really, really grumpy and irritable. Who knew? Carol, that's not true. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute joy to hear about your blogging journey and just to talk to you. This is the second time we've met, but I didn't have the privilege of over an hour with you. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And it's been just such a joy having this conversation, and I really hope that our listeners enjoy it as much as we have enjoyed talking to you. I'm sure they will.
Thank you.
So that's it for this week. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. You can rate, review and subscribe to us via Apple Podcasts, Spotify or whichever platform you prefer.
Thank you so much for listening to the Editing Podcast. She's been Louise.
And she's been Denise. And she's been Carol. Join us again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Are you waving goodbye? You cracked me
up. I just did it.
That time you said you both wave at the end. I'm waving too.
Oh, we're all waving.
We're all waving. Oh,
brilliant. Bye-bye.